Hello and welcome to this video. If you are watching this, chances are you have just discovered n8n, or maybe you heard the word automation somewhere and felt curious but also a little confused, and that is perfectly okay. This video is made exactly for you. Today we are going to build your very first automation in n8n. And I want to be very clear about something from the beginning. You do not need any coding knowledge. You do not need to be technical. You do not need to understand complicated terms. I will explain everything slowly, clearly, and in very simple language. So let's start from the most basic question. What is automation? Automation simply means letting a computer do repetitive work for you automatically. Imagine this: every day, someone fills a spreadsheet with new data, and every time a new row is added, you manually check it and then send a message to someone saying, "Hey, new data has arrived." That is repetitive work. Automation means the computer watches the spreadsheet for you, and the moment a new row appears, it sends the message automatically without you touching anything. That is automation. Now, what is n8n? N8n is a tool that helps you build these automations visually. Instead of writing code, you connect blocks together. Each block does one small job. When you connect them, they work like a chain. One step happens after another automatically. Beginners should learn N8N because it gives you superpowers without needing programming skills. You can connect Google Sheets, emails, messages, databases, and many other tools, all visually just by clicking and connecting. By the end of this video, you will build a real automation. When a new row is added to a Google Sheet, an email will be sent automatically. This is not a demo. This is a real working automation that you can use in your own projects. Now, let's begin from the very start. At this point, imagine you are opening N8N for the first time. To create an N8N account, you open your browser and go to the N8N website. On the home page, you will see an option to start for free or start a free trial. You click on that, you enter your email, create a password, and follow the simple sign up steps. Once you are logged in, you land on the N8N dashboard. This is the main area where all your workflows live. Now, I want to explain an important word: workflow. A workflow in N8N is simply a set of steps that run automatically. It is like a recipe. First, this happens, then that happens, then something else happens. That full recipe is called a workflow. On the dashboard, you will see an option to create a new workflow. When you click it, you are taken to a blank screen. This blank screen is called the canvas. This is where you build your automation. On the left side, you see a panel with many options. These are called nodes. Each node is one action or one trigger. At the top, you will see buttons like execute workflow and save. Execute means run it now. Save means store this workflow so it does not get lost. Now let's slow down and deeply understand nodes, because this is the heart of N8N. A node is a single step in your automation. Think of a node like a machine. It takes something in, does one job, and gives something out. There are two main types of nodes you need to understand today: trigger nodes and action nodes. A trigger node is what starts the automation. It waits for something to happen. For example, a new row is added to a spreadsheet. An action node is what does something after the trigger. For example, sending an email. Now think of this like dominoes. When you push the first domino, it falls and pushes the next one and then the next one. The trigger node is the first domino. Action nodes are the dominoes that come after. Data flows from one node to another like water flowing through pipes. The trigger collects the data, like the new row details, and passes it to the next node. The next node uses that data to do its job. The order matters. Nodes run from left to right, following the connections you draw between them. Now that you understand this, let's talk about the use case we are building today. Our goal is very simple. When a new row is added to a Google Sheet, an email should be sent automatically. Why is this useful in real life? Imagine you have a sheet where people submit leads, orders, registrations, or requests. Instead of checking the sheet again and again, you get notified instantly by email. This saves time and avoids missing important updates. Now, let's build it step by step. First, we add the trigger node. On the canvas, you click the plus button to add a node. You search for Google Sheets trigger. This node watches a Google Sheet for changes. Now you might hear the word trigger type. In simple terms, this means how n8n checks for new data. Some triggers are instant, meaning they react immediately. Some triggers use polling. Polling means n8n checks every few minutes to see if something new happened. Think of it like checking your phone repeatedly instead of waiting for a call. Google Sheets uses polling. That means every few minutes, N8N checks if a new row was added. Next, we need to connect our Google account. This is called authentication. Authentication simply means giving permission. You click on connect account, log into Google, and allow N8N to access your sheets. This is safe and required for automation. Once connected, you select the spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is the whole file. Inside the spreadsheet, you select the sheet, which is like a page inside the file. Rows are horizontal lines, columns are vertical lines. Each row usually represents one record or one entry. Now the trigger is ready. Next, we add the message node. In this video, we are using an email node, so you add an email send node and connect it to the Google Sheets trigger by dragging a line between them. This line shows the flow of data. Inside the email node, you enter the recipient email address. This is where the email will be sent. Now comes an important concept called data mapping. The Google Sheets trigger gives us data from the new row. For example, name, email, or message entered in the sheet. We can insert this data into the email content. You click inside the email body field and you select fields from the previous node. This tells N8N use the data from the spreadsheet here. So now when a new row is added, the email will include the actual data from that row. At this point, the automation is built. Now we test it. You click execute workflow. This tells n8n to start listening. Then you open your Google Sheet and add a new row with some test data. You wait a moment. When n8n checks again, it detects the new row and the email node runs. If everything is set correctly, you receive an email automatically. No clicking, no manual work. Now, let's talk about common beginner mistakes. One very common mistake is forgetting to activate the workflow. If a workflow is not active, it will not run automatically. Another mistake is selecting the wrong sheet or spreadsheet. Always double check the file and sheet name. Permissions are another issue. If Google access is not granted correctly, the trigger will fail. If something does not work, click on each node and look at the output. n8n shows you what data is coming in and going out. This is how you debug, which simply means finding and fixing problems. Now, I want to introduce something very important. The n8